Copy link. All right. Alrighty, hello everyone. Welcome. Thank you so much for being here today. Well, today I'm going to be giving you my first ever on this channel an apology about Meghan Markle. So whenever I'm wrong with something, I'm always going to apologize. I'm going to set the record straight, and I'm going to be giving my first ever apology on this channel about Meghan Markle, and I want to talk to you about that. And I also want to talk to you all about this friend of Harry's that has come out to give us how Harry is feeling. And I think we need to recognize how Harry is feeling, as I did in my little video yesterday. This is a continuation of that, and to really talk about what's going on with Harry, because he's going through some things right now, considering what's happened with his charity, and he wants people to know how he's feeling. Let's get into it. Okay, so for this apology, my apology is that yesterday when I spoke about Meghan, or the video before that, I can't remember which one, but I said that Meghan had been accused of bullying people on 3 continents, and I apologize because that is incorrect. She was caught bullying someone on yet another continent of Australia. So on 4, from 3 to 4, 4 continents, she's been accused of bullying people. So I got it wrong. I said 3, but it's 4. So I officially stand corrected. And I'm going to talk a little bit about what she did in Australia as well, because I think it's relevant to what we're talking about. Because a lot of people are just showing up to all this stuff about Harry and Meghan, and they don't know about all the things that happened years ago, like in 2018. And that's what I'm going to be talking about. What is going on with Harry, and how he is having his friend speak on his behalf. So let's first just look a little bit about what's going on with that. So as I mentioned in my little short video yesterday, Harry's friend has come out, Alex Rayner. Now let's just kind of look at who Alex Rayner is. Alex Rayner is a friend of Harry's when he was caught with doing the Nazi uniform wearing prank, or whatever it was that he was doing. He's also was there with his friend Alex. And this is Alex. And which one do you think is his friend? Yes, it's the one in blackface. Okay, so this is the friend that Harry has gone to in these very troubling times to kind of help him set the record straight about what he did during his time with Bali, and how he wants people to know about what he has done. He has gone to this friend to help him. Yeah, the one in blackface. I don't know if this guy ever did a thank you, an apology, but he sure is relying on a friend who I believe has got some issues. I mean, I don't even know who the one is with the hood on his head. Okay, but if this is not screaming racism, I don't know what is. And then you also have he and his friend, Alex, having a little intimate moment. So this is the friend that he reached out to about the statement that he wanted people to know about. Okay, so we know I played my little violin for Harry yesterday because, you know, Harry, we're just not feeling sorry for you. You've laid your bed. You've got to acknowledge your situation. You've got to acknowledge the kind of man you are. Just like apologizing for doing something like this, you need to acknowledge when you've done things wrong. And I think in this particular situation with Dr. Sophie, he needs to acknowledge some things that have gone wrong there, because, she gave examples. The example of showing up and appointing someone to the board of directors without going through the proper channels, we would all agree is not the proper way to do something. And I can imagine when you're someone like Harry, things are just different with people when you show up into the room, and people were afraid to say things. So his friend is saying basically that these accusations that have been made by him by Dr. Sophie have left him grief-stricken, and he is shocked by it all, which is good. Keep feeling that way, Harry. Just keep feeling that way. Harry is very happy, he's saying, Alex is saying, for me to speak on his behalf about how he feels. He feels awful about this situation. He is just beyond heartbroken and flabbergasted that the charity he founded as a teenager has been taken hostage by the chair. It feels to him like a hostile takeover. But Harry, I think you need to be in a position where someone is taking you over, because you've lost yourself to this woman you married, and someone needs to come and grab you and let you know it's not okay. So I think it's perfect that Dr. Sophie is doing what she is doing. This is, I think, what they hired her to do. They hired her to run this charity, to help the charity, to do the work of a board chair. And that's what you do. Even if it does look like a hostile takeover, when somebody is just a loose cannon who assumes their privilege without being a part of a team, then that's somebody that needs to be taken over. He goes on to say that Harry is so upset and hurt and wounded about the things that are being said about him. I think it's too early to tell whether he will just walk away now or whether he might try and get it back. Now, I think that is key, because Harry could try to get it back. He may look like he's walking away now, but I'm sure he's going to try to come back later. But I find it very interesting that Ian, the gentleman sitting next to Dr. Sophie during this interview, is definitely somebody who is in Prince William's camp. Okay, so he was put in position as soon as Harry left. So I think having anything moving forward is definitely going to have the voice of people that are in Prince William's camp. I'm just going to leave it at that for now. He goes on to say that Harry feels as if he has had one of his fingers cut off. And yeah, I think it should feel like you've had one of your heads cut off. Your head cut off, okay? You have been making so many poor choices that you really need to own up to a lot of things that you have done to understand the gravity of it all. You don't quite understand that, Harry, and I think that is part of the reason why you're feeling this way, because there's a history of things that have been happening with you and your wife, and this is just one moment of all the other things that have been happening in your life. And this position with Xpatty is an up close position for you, because your wife is not physically here with you to help you address the issue, but she's part of the problem. Now, this is what Rayner is also saying. He is saying that he believes that some of the accusations from Xpatty chairwoman Dr. Sophie Chandauka may possibly spring from jealousy of Prince Harry's wife, Meghan. Look, Alex. Look, Harry, because it's probably Harry saying that as well as Alex. Oh, yeah, they're jealous. She's jealous of Meghan. Look, Sophie is a self-made woman, self-made with an impeccable resume, a very expensive education. This is a woman that does not need to be jealous of Meghan. Meghan can't even do a proper launch of a business. Okay, Dr. Sophie has got the credentials to prove she's good. Okay, she's good. She doesn't have to be jealous about anybody, especially someone like Meghan, who seems to fail at every single thing she is doing. So I would beg to differ. While you may think Dr. Sophie could be jealous of Meghan, look again at Dr. Sophie, and what she's been able to accomplish with her life. That will tell you a lot about how secure she is in her own well-being and what she's able to accomplish and how she feels about herself. This woman has got a lot going on to be proud of. No need for jealousy there. part of the issues with what has happened and what Dr. Sophie spoke about in her interview when she talked about Harry was this awkward moment on the stage, okay? Well, there were other instances of this that really showed Meghan being the bully. Meghan showing jealousy of Dr. Sophie because she didn't even want to speak to her. Okay, so let's take a look at that. Now, clearly you can see Dr. Sophie was to the front right of her. Okay, and this was in the beginning. You can see Dr. Sophie looking towards Meghan. You would think she would have acknowledged her, but she went out of her way not to acknowledge her. She went out of her way not to even look at her. She goes as far as looking down. And Dr. Sophie clearly is looking and even looks back, and Meghan didn't even want to acknowledge her. So that's key. And then there's yet another one. When they were going to go take pictures, Meghan was standing directly next to Dr. Sophie, even kind of looked down a little bit towards her, but then just kept going, just kept trying to smile for the photo and not include Dr. Sophie in the photo. So Meghan is showing herself to be, I think, a bully in that moment, trying to make herself appear as if she is ignoring Dr. Sophie in that. And Harry looked confused. He looked like he didn't even want to take a picture. I think it was just one of those moments where you can sense there was some tension, some things that have been happening. So just showing Meghan and her behavior. And so going to what Dr. Sophie said, she said that, things just didn't look right when they were on the stage. Meghan was not supposed to be there. And then when she did show up, they had to kind of re-coordinate things. She brought Serena Williams, and then there's all these security issues. There's a lot that is happening. And Meghan just piled on more work for the others to do by not letting them know that she was going to be there. And I think that's just disrespectful, because we can almost be certain Meghan knew that she was going to be there, but she didn't want to let them know. She made it ambiguous. It was in the air whether or not she was going to be there. But she does this because she's playing games, because that's what Meghan does. Mean girls, they poke at people, they play games, they try to want to make things more difficult than they need to be, because they get a rise out of that. And that's what I see from what Meghan has done by essentially not even letting them know she was going to be there, when she clearly had to know she was going to be showing up. And then Alex Rayner, Harry's friend, says that it feels like Dr. Chandauka had her nose put out of joint because she was not the most important woman of color on the stage. Now, let me ask you something. If there were anybody that was going to pretend like they were better than other people, would we think that was Meghan or Dr. Sophie? We would think it was Meghan. Why? Because there's a history of Meghan doing that. Of course, Meghan feels, I believe, threatened, if anything, by Dr. Sophie, because she is the educated woman, the woman with the very expensive education, the one that is calling the shots, the one that is able to be right there with Harry, just as important as what Meghan would be. Meghan feels threatened by other women. So it would make sense that Meghan was the one jealous, if anything, of Dr. Sophie, not the other way around. It's curious that Alex would put this in an article for all to read, to try to make Meghan seem like the one who is put out, the one that has had to deal with Dr. Sophie. Well, we know Meghan has bullied people on 4 continents. Okay? So we have a history of Meghan to understand the kind of person she is. Now, he goes on to say that there is an undercurrent of stink here because Meghan showed up, and it is coming from her, Dr. Chandauka. Alex said also that the chair should never have let the narrative take hold, that Meghan had caused an issue. If that narrative did take hold, then I would argue it is down to the chair to put it right. They could have issued a statement and put a stop to it, but they did not. Why? Again, the whole thing smells. It feels planned, and I suspect that the whole thing could only have come from the chair herself. And the chair should have been delighted to have Meghan there. When you have both Sussexes there, it doubles the reaction, the power of it. And yet here, Dr. Chandauka is refusing to get hold of a negative narrative which damages Meghan. It makes you wonder where it came from. Now, let me just say something. Dr. Sophie was in her full right to tell Meghan, and Harry for that matter, that she was not going to say that everything was okay with Meghan on the stage, because we saw how Meghan embarrassed Dr. Sophie, okay? And basically, Harry went to her, had asked her to put out a statement saying that all was good. But why should Dr. Sophie be in the position to give Meghan the out that all is good, when Meghan is the one that made the choice to embarrass Dr. Sophie and herself? Meghan showed her attitude. She showed her bullying, demanding, aggressive behavior for a photo op. So I don't buy any of this, what his friend is saying, but I do think it's very revealing about how Harry is feeling right now. He can't even come out and speak about this himself. He has to have a friend kind of release the information on his behalf about how he's feeling. And not only that, that there's issues around the marriage. Most recently, we saw that Meghan has come out with more Instagram releases around her work for her As Ever brand. And she's cooking and she's dancing and she's doing all these things to show she's not bothered. And I think it speaks a lot about the relationship of Harry and Meghan right now. If you're consumed with going forward with your brand, understanding that your husband is going through a PR crisis with his charity, and all you're thinking about is doing your brand and making your money and not even speaking on your husband's behalf when he is blatantly called out for being a racist and all the, harassing people and treating this woman the way it appears to have been, then I think Harry and Meghan are no longer together in a way that shows them supporting each other. Big cracks are showing in this marriage, and it's no wonder that Harry is upset and angry and beside himself with all the issues that he is dealing with. In terms of Meghan and the bullying when she was in Australia, a couple of things had happened. I want to read to you one of them so that you can understand how Meghan bullied her staff when they were in Australia. Now, the claims are that Meghan was becoming upset about being given only a wing of the Admiralty House, the Australian Governor General's office, Sydney residence, rather than the whole property. On another occasion, she reportedly lost her temper with an assistant and a hot drink was knocked over. This is one of several instances that have happened during this Australia trip. And Meghan bullied her staff when all these different things had happened on the trip. As a matter of fact, one of the workers was seen crying by one of the reporters and ended up resigning a month later. As a matter of fact, the paper's royal correspondent also described seeing the Duchess appear to have sharp words with her aides. Meghan clearly made one of her assistants distraught. There were several instances of Meghan just being not a nice person, bullying people, and just being very short with people and very egotistical in her appearance of being on this trip to Australia. So there's just a lot going on, because you can imagine having had this wedding, everyone's cheering you on, you feel on top of the world, and you feel like you have all this admiration. And so you think that when you're in closed settings and you're just kind of getting along and doing things with other people within your surroundings, when something goes wrong, you just lose it. You snap. Because you're used to people always thinking you're so great. And so when things are not so great anymore, you start to have an attitude. And so Meghan has done some things to people in her surroundings. She has bullied people, and these same people that were bullied during the Australia trip were a part of the bullying investigation by the royal family. So she's managed to bully people on yet another continent that I forgot about. So that's my apology. It was 4, it was not 3. And so right now, Harry's in a predicament. He's very upset. He's very beside himself, distraught with what's going on with his beloved Sentebale, as I would expect him to be, because your life is being dwindled down to nothing. And I hope at some point he realizes it's his wife he needs to cut off and start to say to her, moving forward, it's about time that maybe what Meghan wants, Meghan doesn't get. Because at this point in time, he's starting to lose a lot of the things that he had. The sooner he realizes that he needs to stop having that whole mindset of what Meghan wants, Meghan gets, because pretty soon Meghan is going to come for the rest of your life. These children, and then you're really going to be in a hard spot. How will you deal with it then? Harry, you are in a big predicament. You need to be angry. You need to be by yourself contemplating what you have done, because you've done a doozy, and the sooner you recognize, the sooner you can wake up out of this nightmare you are living, because you're going to get yourself in a spot of unimaginable proportions. And I can only imagine what it would be like for you then. But by then it will be too late. You better cut it off. Cut the snake off at the head is what I say. I'm only hoping that Harry can see, by having his friends speak out on his behalf, to stop making excuses vicariously through your friends and their statements, but start to recognize what maybe you have done, Harry, to cause all of these problems. Because that's the only moment when things can start to change and heal and be better, and you can move on and stop losing all the time. But until he wakes up out of that and stops trying to get people to make excuses for him, he needs to recognize the problems started with Meghan, and the problems will end with Meghan. He just needs to wake up and recognize that Meghan is the problem. And I'll see you in the next one.